Over the years, as I've learned to throw better, farther, with better form, I've made a ton of different form videos, sort of documenting that progress, as well as teaching other people the things that I have learned, the things that are helping me do better. Over the past couple of months, I've kind of done that a little bit less, just because my form's been getting a lot better and I don't really have a whole lot of new things to say. However, as I look back on some of those videos, which apparently are very popular, I do want to sort of amend them a little bit, or at least make a new video that I think encapsulates my current thoughts about form and puts everything in a nice, concise, full video, as opposed to kind of like little bits and tips along the way. So this is sort of the amalgamation of all of the form tips and videos that I've made over the past couple of years. I hope this is pretty helpful to all of you. But anyway, this is my 13 form tips that have helped me throw over 500 feet. It's kind of helped me throw a lot further over the years. And 13 is not really like a specific number, just kind of the number of things I came up with. These are the 13 most important in my opinion. Okay, number one, we're gonna start with the grip. You want to have a solid and consistent grip. Preferably, if you can, make that a front-loaded power grip. What I mean by that is you're going to be basically pinching between your pointer finger and your thumb. So all of the power of the disc is going to release between those two fingers, your pointer finger and your thumb. You don't want to do what I used to do, which is backload the grip, which is kind of these three fingers will be holding the disc, and this one would kind of be not all the way under. Try to get your hand a little bit more under the disc, get that front pointer finger to be the main point of contact. That's gonna create a lot of snap. It's gonna get a lot more rotation and spin when the disc comes out, and also just having a nice clean grip is really important to make sure the disc isn't moving around in your hand at all and is staying on a good flat plane the whole way through. Additionally, something that I struggled with was relieving my thumb pressure a little bit, or sometimes even bringing it off the disc, sort of just maintaining that constant, I would say moderate grip pressure throughout the throw, and tightening up just a little bit as you come through to the power pocket is the most important. You don't want things moving around, and you don't want your grip to be coming off the disc at all. You want to stay consistent throughout the throw. Number two is going to have a little bit to do with grip, more sort of your hand position is going to be get your hand around the disc. You'll see a lot of people, myself included years ago, hold the disc like this with their hand on the side of the disc. And so when they reach back, it's kind of pointed back like this, and their hand is not all the way around. So you want to kind of curl your hand around the disc a little more. What this does is create a more loaded position, and it creates more room for the disc to come through, right? If you're coming through like this is a very weak position right here. My wrist is already out like this. I can't really explode very much. Where if we are curled in like this, with the disc inside of this, it helps generate a stronger power pocket and is gonna create that explosion of power that we want once we release the disc. So, like I said, getting that disc inside of your body, hand around the disc. Number three is gonna have to do with your body position, and that's gonna be keeping your body perpendicular with your target throughout your run-up. What a lot of people will do during their run-up is, because they want to get to this position, and if you notice, my shoulders are facing back this way, so my back is kind of pointed behind me, they will start to try to do that too early in the throw, and they'll start kind of backing up a little bit like this. And in doing that, you are putting yourself in sort of a weaker position. What you want to do is stay perpendicular, because I want to be able to step out. If you're coming back this way, you're kind of just stepping behind you, and that's not very strong. So what we want to do to be able to get into that position, stay perpendicular. That last step's going to be out here, a little bit in front of you, and then while we're making that step, we can turn and reach back. We don't want to be preempting that by turning our body this way while we're doing our X step. If you want to buy a bunch of nice discs like these that I'm holding right here, go to otbdisc.com, use code CHILI at checkout, and you can get free shipping on your order. Okay, number four is also gonna have to do with your body position, and that's gonna be to not lean back when you're trying to reach back. I'll see a lot of people do this for the same reason, that they start to turn their back to their target when they're going this way. It's because they sort of want to preempt that reach back. They're thinking, I have to reach back behind me, so I should sort of ease my body into a position that makes that a little bit easier. And for the same reason as the last point, you are just losing that powerful stance of being upright and in a good sort of like square to your target and to the ground position. Leaning back is gonna create rounding, it's gonna create just a worse body position. A good way that I like to think of a cue to help with this is to keep your shoulders level with the ground. So basically, if I'm going this way, my shoulders should both be at the same level basically. So if you're looking at this side profile, throwing that way while doing form work, and you notice one shoulder's up a little bit higher, you wanna correct that, and you wanna see both of these shoulders at pretty much the same level. You also wanna rotate without leaning, so you don't wanna lean into the rotation like that, or lean like this. We wanna do a rotation with our shoulders staying at the same height the entire way. I really like to look at Cole Radalin for this. Also Evan Smith. They both rotate really cleanly when they get into the reach back, and it's really just this rotation of their body with minimal leaning. Okay, number 5 is gonna have to do with your arm position. Most important thing with that is gonna be get your elbow up. It's gonna allow for a nice, easy, clean reach back. And then when we come back forward, we're going right back into that same position, and we can see where that elbow's up. That's gonna put us right into the power pocket, exactly where we want to be. And again, with that elbow up, we want the reach back to be straight back. We don't wanna be rounding. So if our elbow wasn't up, we would kind of have to bring our elbow up and round our reach back, which is gonna be inefficient. We're gonna lose power, and we could also create rounding in our throw. So we wanna go straight back. And we also don't wanna reach back too far out. So if I'm giving you this profile, we wanna go not straight behind us, because that would kind of be bringing us into our chest, just kind of like a little bit offset. Some people I see reach back kind of way out here. That's gonna create just no room to come into the power pocket, because we're basically coming from out here. We wanna get into here, and that's creating a path that's like this. That's not very good, because we want the disc to go straight forward afterwards. So we're creating a path this way, and then we're redirecting that way. We wanna pretty much just come straight forward. So like we did with that last step that we're out in front of us a little bit, we're going back, not straight behind us, but out just a little bit and pulling straight forward. And that's gonna help, that elbow is gonna help a lot with getting that easy reach back and then coming forward. Building on that, number 6 is going to be keeping your elbow up and forward in the power pocket. So we kind of want to lead with our elbow, because if we do that, we are going to get into that nice power pocket. It creates all this room, and it creates that whip that when we can explode forward, this position of our arm is going to create that explosion, that sort of built up potential energy in this position. That's what creates the most power in the throw, hence why it's called the power pocket. So really key to make sure you're getting that elbow up. If you're kind of coming in low here, that's not very good. This isn't very powerful. We want to get our elbow up. Just a nice level position, coming in, hitting the power pocket nicely. It's going to help you generate a lot of power. Number 7, this is one that I've actually kind of figured out the most recently, I would say, and that is going to be to not force your elbow forward. Now, I know I just said you want to get your elbow forward in the power pocket, but it can lead to, if you think about too much about getting your elbow forward, especially when you're in this coiled reach back position. If I'm thinking elbow forward from back here, what I'm gonna end up doing is sort of arming the disc and using my arm to pull it forward. What I wanna do instead is feel my body's rotation pulling the disc forward. I'm not trying to force it forward with my arm. I am trying to get my elbow into this position, but I don't wanna force that forward. Instead, what I like to think of is feel sort of in your shoulder back here, shoulder blade, upper back. When you get to this position and start to rotate, feel that part of your body pulling on the disc and on your arm, because your arm is essentially a whip at this point. And so when you start to rotate and pull, you should feel a little bit of a stretch and a little bit of a pull in that part of your body. And that means that is a good indicator that you're doing something right in getting that rotation to pull things through, because we're just kind of letting our arm fall behind us and then we're doing this rotation. So if you kind of just let it sit here and start to rotate, you can feel that little bit of stretch back there. If you're rotating and you're trying to force your elbow forward, you're not gonna feel any of that. You're not gonna get that pull that you get from the rotation. And even though you're doing a lot of things right, you're pulling your arm forward too soon and you're losing a lot of the energy you'd get from that rotation. Okay, number 8 is gonna have to do with the off arm and the off leg. Basically, you just wanna get them out of the way, okay? We don't want our off leg to drag behind us. It's gonna stop us from being able to rotate. So we wanna get that off the ground and pulled into our body. That one's pretty simple. The harder one is gonna be the off arm. Basically, you wanna get it into your body, but also out of the way of the path of the disc that you're going to create. If you watch my most recent video, or I guess 2 videos ago, I did sort of a deep dive on this form cue. But basically, you wanna come into the side of your body. You can either come directly to the side. You can kind of come in a little bit, so long as your shoulder is staying out of the way and not getting tucked into your chest. So you can kind of come inside a little bit, or you can even come like behind you a tiny bit. You don't have to be right on your side. Anthony Barella kind of comes in like this. A lot of guys go right on the side, and some people kind of come in with their hand coming in towards their midsection a tiny bit. The key is though, that this shoulder, well, the first key is that you're coming into your body. You're not leaving your arm out here. Second key is that your shoulder is not getting in the way, because we want to be able to come through. This arm's going to come to the side, and we want to create all this room for the disc to come in and hit that power pocket and get all that power and have that room to create that whip and explosion. What we don't want is trying to bring our arm in. Say we're coming out here doing sort of like a Garrett Girthy thing, coming in and overextending that, bringing the arm in, and we come across our body like this, almost reaching over to the right pocket. Because what that does is brings the shoulder into the play here. It closes off our midsection and creates a very awkward power pocket. And then now we have to bring the disc out here, and it's also gonna throw off our timing quite a bit. So you wanna come in. Even if you do come across a little bit, you can swim out, kind of like Paul Macbeth does. But once we're getting into the power pocket, we want our arm to be on the side of our body, and we want our shoulder out of the way. If the sort of off arm coming out here and coming in is too awkward for you, something that you can do that I've found to be very helpful is to just leave it sort of towards the side of your body for the entire throw. Plenty of players do this. The main example I would use is Gavin Rathbun. He pretty much leaves his arm to his side throughout the whole throw. He does do a little bit of a pushback like this when he's coming through, just to create that room. So even when he's doing that, you can see how getting that out of the way is very important. But you don't necessarily have to bring your arm up here and pull it in to create extra power. Gavin Rathbun throws plenty far. So long as you are getting that shoulder out of the way and swimming out a little bit and keeping it to your side when you're pulling in, you should be fine. Okay, number 9 is gonna have to do with the coil. Like we said before, we wanna get this straight reach back. What we don't wanna do is what I'm gonna call pre-rotating. Sometimes I've seen myself do this and other people, which is they get back here and they start to pull their shoulders, kind of pulling them before they get a full reach back. So basically, they're getting to like here, and then they're starting to turn while they're still reaching back. This is just all timing, basically. It's gonna throw off the timing of everything. It's gonna create sort of some rounding because we're gonna turn before we rotate, so the disc's gonna come out here. It's gonna pull it up a little bit into our shoulders. What we wanna do is get to that full coil, and then right when we hit this point, when our body's totally open, then we wanna rotate in. We don't want to be 70, 80% of the way back and then start rotating our body, then hit that reach back with our shoulders already starting to turn. So if I'm already starting to turn, I now basically create the same problem that I did with having my shoulder in too far when I had good timing, is I'm just closing everything off because I'm pulling in before I have a chance to get to a full reach back. So you can think of, if you have this problem, sort of delaying the rotation of your body, or really focusing on getting into this position right here where your shoulders are facing back and you're in that coiled position. Then once you hit this, then you start to rotate. Number 10 is gonna be knowing what parts of your body to keep rigid, what parts of your body need to stay loose. So in my most popular form video I ever made, a big thing that I focus on is getting your body to be loose. And while I think that's a good sentiment, it can lead to some problems if you're making everything too loose. So one thing I think you'll see with a lot of amateurs is they will reach back and their wrists will kind of just be really loose and all over the place. You'll kind of see it come up and then swing in, or it'll come down like this or something. and the disc is just kind of flying all over the place as it comes through, and you're just leaking power all over the place. It's going to create bad release issues, probably some grip problems, where if you watch top pros, someone like Simon Lizotte, the disc pretty much stays on one plane the entire way, all the way back and all the way forward. So the key thing here to focus on is knowing what parts of your body need to stay rigid and what parts need to be loose. So when you think about a whip, right, the actual whip part of the whip is very loose, but the handle is nice and tight. So you should have nice strong legs. You should have a tight core. Your shoulder should kind of stay in a nice, good, solid position. Your wrist should actually be pretty tight. You don't want it flopping all over the place because that's what's controlling the disc. That's what's holding it in place. So keeping it on that line is very important. But you also want your arm to be able to hit that power pocket and fly out and kind of get pulled by your rotating body as well. So that part has to stay loose. It's going to be kind of tough to like pick and choose which parts of your body are going to do what things, but as you work on them better and can kind of hit all those different key points, right? Strong legs, strong core, sort of rigid shoulder, rigid wrist, but arm coming through nice and smooth and flying out, kind of getting that powerful release in the power pocket. That's what's going to help you the most. All right, number 11 is having a controlled approach, but a powerful delivery. Something I see a lot of people do, something that I used to do and still do sometimes, is I think, hey, I'm trying to throw hard and far. Let me speed through everything. Let me run up and do my run up really fast and go like this. Honestly, someone that I think of when I think of that is like Chris Dickerson. He has like a really fast throw, sort of a fast form. But for most people, when they throw, it's way better if you slow things down, do a nice controlled run up, don't be running all over the place, get to your reach back, and then once you hit that apex, then really pull through and have a nice explosive, powerful delivery. Like Eagle McMahon's one of the furthest throwers on tour, but you'll see him throw 600 plus feet and his run up is literally like that slow, you know? So it's not so important to like try and run up and like do this crazy run up where you're flying off the handle, because you're just going to throw so many things off and you're most likely going to throw off your timing a ton. So slowing things down, making sure you get into the right positions, and then really trying to explode on that pull through is really, really important. Actually, Albert Tam, also massive, massive distance thrower. His run up is super slow and controlled, and he just rockets the disc forward right when it hits that apex point of his reach back. Okay, number 12 is to kind of throw the disc at the end of the throw. So once you've gotten into the power pocket, rotation has done all of the work. Now, once we've gotten to here and the disc is starting to rip out of my hands, you can just kind of let your arm follow through. You're really just whipping your arm out and like actually throwing your arm like you would if you were just arming the disc. Because at that point, at a certain point, there becomes like a point in the power pocket where rotation is not going to do anything else for you, and you have to let your arm take over and throw the disc. If I try and let rotation do all of the work, there's going to become a point where it's not really doing anything anymore, and I'm losing out on potential power by not allowing the rest of my body to incorporate into the throw. So in the same way that I don't want to get my elbow forward when I'm pulling the disc forward, I also don't want rotation to do all the work when I'm trying to throw it and release it hard. So in the first stages of the throw, in the very early stages, we want to control it with our arm the whole way, like through the reach back. Then when we get to here, we want to let our rotation take over and then let that pull the disc forward into the power pocket. And then once we hit the power pocket, we've created this acceleration here. We want to finish the job by just letting the disc fly out of our hands and really throwing it and exaggerating that follow through and coming way out here like you see most people do when they throw far. Last thing, number 13, maybe the number one most important part of throwing far and consistently and throwing well. Get in shape, get stronger, condition, become more flexible. Your biggest tool, your only tool with throwing is your body. Without your body, you can't throw well. If you are not able to get into these positions that you need to get into for whatever reason, you're not going to be able to throw far. Making sure that you are in good shape you have flexibility, and your condition to be able to continue to do this throughout a long round is the most important part, right? We're not just coming out, throwing one giant shot and going home. We're playing 18 holes. We're playing 2 rounds of 18 holes, or 3 or 4 days of 18 holes, right? We need to be able to withstand that longer duration of throwing over and over, as well as not injuring ourselves. So while form is really important, I don't want there to be forgotten the very important thing, which is making sure you're in good shape, making sure you're flexible, making sure you're conditioned, because that's what's going to help the most with longevity. And if you look at 2 people, one that is in very, very good shape and one that isn't, and they both have identical form, the one that's in good shape is going to throw further. So even if you're just purely looking at it as a vacuum single throw form aspect, it's still important to be in shape. It still does help. An athlete, a true athlete, is always going to throw further with the same form as someone who just kind of sits on the couch all day. So those are my 13 form tips. At this point, I think my form's in a really good spot. I'm just going to get reps in, try to throw more, but those are all the things I'm thinking about. There's not really much more. There's maybe some smaller things, but those are the key points that I'm worried about when it comes to throwing backhand. And I mean, yeah, with that, I've learned from a lot of people. I can throw over 500, not every throw, but I mean, I can do it pretty frequently. So I think it's helped quite a bit. And I think if you can throw over 500, you can play pretty much any course with ease. I hope you can throw a little bit further, or maybe a lot further, with this new knowledge, and I can help you break through some distance plateaus, because all of these certainly have helped me break through a lot of plateaus. That's all. I'll see you next time. Peace.